I was living alone on a dying planet. The planet was silent. Gray dust covered the ground. Broken metal, old machines, and dead trees filled the landscape. The sky was always dark, filled with clouds and smoke. Sometimes red lightning would flash in the distance, but no thunder followed. It was like the world had forgotten how to scream. A man lived there. His name was Jonas. Jonas was human, maybe the last one on this side of the galaxy. He had a small shelter made from an old ship. Inside, he had basic tools, a few books, and a machine that made food. Nothing fresh, just dry blocks. He had no one to talk to, only the wind, and sometimes the soft sound of old recordings he played. He had been alone for many years. Each day was the same. Wake up, check the solar power, fix something broken, eat, sit outside and watch the dead sky. Sleep. No purpose, no future. Just waiting for time to end. One morning, while he was fixing a broken antenna, his scanner beeped. He looked up, surprised. It was a rare sound. The scanner only made that noise when something was close, something new. Jonas walked to the screen. It showed a small ship entering the planet's atmosphere. Very small, probably one-person size. That's strange, he said to himself. No one comes here. The ship was falling fast. Too fast. He watched as it crashed on the far side of the hills. Flames rose in the air, then silence again. Jonas hesitated. Maybe it was dangerous. Maybe it was nothing, but his heart felt something. Curiosity, maybe even hope. He grabbed his old gun just in case and started walking toward the crash. It took him almost an hour to reach it. The ship was small and round, half buried in the ground. Smoke came from the back, but the front was mostly safe. He stepped closer, holding the gun tight. Then he heard a sound. A soft voice. Crying. Jonas moved carefully to the side door. It was stuck. He pulled hard, and finally it opened. Inside, sitting on the floor, was a little girl. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were large and golden. She looked like a child, maybe 6 or 7 years old in human age, but clearly from another world. She looked up at him. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her body was shaking. She didn't speak for a few seconds. Jonas was silent too. He had seen many strange things in his life, but this was new. This was different. Finally, she stood up slowly. Her hands were small and shaking. She took one step forward, looked into his tired eyes, and said something he never expected. "Will you be my father?" Jonas froze. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He lowered his gun. "What? What did you say?" he asked softly. The girl nodded. "Please. I need a father. I don't have anyone." Her voice was soft, full of fear and hope. Jonas didn't know what to do. He was not a father. He was a broken man living on a dead planet. Why would anyone ask him this? "Where are you from?" he asked. "They were chasing me," she said. "Bad people. I escaped. My ship was damaged. I found your signal. I followed it." Jonas looked back at the sky. No ships, no signs. Not yet. He looked at the girl again. She was clearly scared, but also strong. She had survived alone in space. She had found him. Him, a man who had no one. Who had lost everything. Who had stopped believing in anything. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sira," she said. He nodded slowly. "My name is Jonas." She smiled. Just a little. It was the first smile he had seen in years. Jonas looked at the wrecked ship, then back at her. He didn't understand everything, but he understood one thing. He could not leave her here. Not alone. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you out of this wreck." He held out his hand. She took it. They walked back together across the hills toward his small home. The wind blew gently. For the first time in many years, Jonas didn't feel completely alone. But in the back of his mind, a question was growing. Who was this girl? And why did she call him father? She wasn't a normal alien child. The wind howled as Jonas and the little alien girl walked back to his shelter. Her small hand was cold in his. She didn't speak much, just looked around quietly, as if searching for something, or someone. Jonas could feel his heart beating harder than usual, not because of fear, but because something didn't feel normal. He had seen many alien species during his time in the Galactic War. Traitors, enemies, even allies. But this girl, Sira, was different. Her skin looked soft but strong, like it could survive in harsh space. Her golden eyes didn't shine like others. They glowed. Dim at first, but brighter every time she looked at him. When they reached his small home, Jonas opened the rusty door and let her in. "It's not much," he said, "but it's safe." She stepped in, looked around at the old furniture, dusty shelves, and the soft blue light from his power core. Then she turned to him. "You live here alone?" she asked. "Yeah," he replied, sitting down slowly. "A long time now." Sira sat across from him. Her legs swung softly over the edge of the chair. For a moment they said nothing. Jonas broke the silence. "Why did you really come here, Sira? You found my signal in a dead system. That's not luck." She looked at the floor. "They told me to find a human," she whispered. Jonas leaned forward. "Who told you that?" She hesitated. Her hands gripped the edge of the chair. "Before I escaped, I was in a lab, underground, dark, cold. There were others, scientists, alien scientists. They studied me, tested me. They said I had something special." Jonas felt a chill in his bones. "What kind of tests?" "They said my blood could change things. They called me a mistake and a miracle. They said humans were the lost key." I didn't understand. I still don't. Jonas stood up. His face was hard now, alert. "Stay here," he said. He walked to a small locked cabinet, opened it, and took out a dusty black box. Inside was a handheld scanner, old but working. He walked back, knelt in front of Sira. "May I scan you?" he asked gently. She nodded. The scanner buzzed softly. Lights blinked. Data appeared on the small screen. Jonas stared at it. Genetic match, 43% human, 57% unknown hybrid. His hand shook slightly. "You're part human," he said slowly. "But how?" She looked up. "I don't know. I just am." Jonas sat back, lost in thought. If what she said was true, if aliens had been experimenting with human DNA, it was more than just science. It was a secret war. Humanity had disappeared from most of the galaxy after the last war. Jonas had believed they were extinct or scattered, but now sitting in front of him was proof that someone had kept pieces of humanity, hidden, and used them. "Do you remember anything from that lab?" he asked. "Only voices, and pain, and one thing," she said. "They said if I escaped I must find my father. He will know what to do." Jonas's eyes narrowed. "They meant your real father?" She shook her head. "They said he was not real, just someone who would feel like a father, someone who would protect me." Jonas stood up and walked to the window. The sky was darker now. Something inside him felt heavier. Sira wasn't just any child. She was made for something. Then, the lights flickered. "Power's going low." He muttered, "I'll boost the core." He walked to the power unit. As he opened the panel, he heard a faint sound from behind him. He turned. Sira was standing near the scanner. Her eyes were glowing again, but brighter now, and her body, it was floating, just a few inches off the ground. "Sira?" he called. She didn't answer. Her eyes rolled back. She began to speak, but not in her own voice. A mechanical, broken voice came from her mouth. "Protocol Omega initiated. Host found. Location identified. Broadcasting genetic signal to Central Command." Jonas ran to her. "Stop. Sira, wake up." She collapsed into his arms, unconscious. The scanner beeped again. Outgoing signal sent. Jonas's stomach dropped. They knew where she was now. Whoever created her was coming. He carried her gently to the sleeping area, laid her down, and covered her with a blanket. Her breathing was soft and steady again. Then he grabbed his weapon, checked the battery, and turned off all external lights. Outside, the sky pulsed. He looked up. 3 blinking red lights appeared far above the clouds, small, fast-moving objects entering orbit. Jonas whispered to himself, "What the hell have you brought to me, kid?" They are coming for her. Night had fallen. Jonas sat near the window holding his old plasma rifle close. The sky above his shelter was no longer empty. 3 blinking red dots hovered in the upper atmosphere, unmoving, watching. Alien drones. Scouts. Maybe worse. They had found her. Sierra was still asleep in the back room. She hadn't moved since the strange voice came out of her. Jonas kept checking her breathing. She was stable, for now. He felt helpless. She was just a child, but she carried something dangerous inside her, something valuable, enough that someone, or something, was willing to hunt her down. The question was no longer why they wanted her. The question was, what would they do to get her back? Jonas stood up and walked to a hidden locker behind the wall. Inside were pieces of old gear, a body shield, a helmet with night vision, a toolkit, and his encrypted communicator. Long broken, but maybe still useful for short-range scans. He began preparing. Fast. He knew these types of drones. They scanned. Life signatures, red heat trails, tracked movement from orbit. The girl had sent a signal. She was a beacon now. But what worried him most wasn't the drones. It was what followed them. Sierra woke up just before dawn. Her eyes opened slowly, golden glow returning to normal. She sat up and looked around the small room. Her voice was quiet. "They're here, aren't they?" Jonas turned from his gear. "Yes, 3 ships. I don't think they're friendly." She stood up. Her expression had changed. "Less fear, more focus. They won't stop," she said. "They never do. They want me back." "Why?" Jonas asked, walking closer. "What's inside you?" Sierra looked down at her hands. Something they made, something they can't control. Jonas knelt beside her. "What kind of something?" She didn't speak. Instead, she reached into her clothes and pulled out a thin silver shard. It looked like metal, but moved like liquid. She handed it to Jonas. "They call it the seed. It's not from this galaxy." Jonas examined it. It pulsed faintly in his palm. It was alive, not a machine, not organic, something in between. "What does it do?" he whispered. Sierra took a deep breath. "It learns. It adapts. It grows inside. A host. They created me to hold it safely, to carry it across space, but something went wrong. It bonded to me. Permanently. And now? Now they want to cut it out." Jonas's jaw tightened. "Not gonna happen," he said. He stood up and walked to the scanner again. He had upgraded it during the night. The 3 ships above were dropping lower now, closer to the surface. Probably drones first, soldiers later. He had maybe an hour. "We need to move," Jonas said. But Sierra shook her head. "They'll follow us anywhere. They don't care about rules, planets, or who gets hurt." Jonas stared at her, then asked the question he had been avoiding. "Who are they, Sierra? Who built you?" She hesitated. Then, in a whisper, "The Valari." Jonas froze. He had heard the name once before, during the final days of the human war. A shadow empire. No planets, no leaders, just voices, machines, and experiments. Ghost scientists who stole DNA, played with genetics, and vanished without a trace. The Valari weren't just alien scientists. They were creators of weapons disguised as people. "You're running from gods," Jonas said, almost to himself. "They are not gods," Sierra replied. "They're cowards. They make life but don't know how to love it." The ground shook. Jonas looked at the scanner again. 2 fast-moving objects were descending fast. Not ships. Drop pods. They're here, he said. He handed Sierra a small device. Stay close, press this if we get separated. Outside, dust and wind kicked up. Red flames streaked the sky as two black pods crashed near the edge of the hill. Jonas pulled on his helmet. His voice crackled through the small speaker. I'll slow them down. If anything happens, run. But Sierra grabbed his hand. You can't. Stop them alone. I don't have to stop them, he said. Just slow them long enough for us to escape. The first alien stepped out of the pod. Its body was tall, metal and flesh combined. Half machine, with long arms and glowing red eyes. Its voice was like a whisper cutting through metal. Target acquired, human signature detected. Engage softly, recover host alive. Jonas fired the first shot. It hit the creature in the chest. Sparks flew, but it didn't fall. It turned slowly and began walking toward him. Then, another. Sound a different one. From behind Jonas, Sierra stepped forward, her hands glowing, her skin brighter. You want the seed? She shouted. Then take it. The creature paused. Jonas turned in shock. What are you doing? But it was too late. A pulse of energy exploded from her body, a dome of golden light. It pushed the alien soldiers back, throwing one into a rock wall. The second one raised its arm to fire, but the weapon melted in its hand, turned to dust. Jonas pulled Sierra back behind him. How did you do that? She looked surprised, too. I don't know. It just happened. The creatures began to rise again. Jonas fired more shots, grabbed Sierra's hand. This way. They ran, through dust, wind, and rock. The shelter was no longer safe. Behind them, red eyes followed. No matter how far they went, they were being tracked. But Jonas had made up his mind now. This wasn't just about survival anymore. Someone had to protect this girl, not because she had power, not because she was part human, but because she was a child who never got to be one, and she had chosen him. As they disappeared into the canyon below, Jonas opened an old map on his wrist pad, a hidden place far south, deep under the mountains, an old war bunker, maybe their last chance. He looked back once more. The sky behind them burned. Her secret could save humanity. The mountain air was thin and cold. Jonas and Sierra climbed quietly through narrow canyons and broken rock trails. Behind them, the sky was still glowing from the crash site. Red drones searched the hills. Shadows moved between clouds. But they were far now, hidden for a moment. Sierra said nothing. Her small hand gripped Jonas's arm tightly. Her eyes had lost their golden glow for now, but something inside her had changed since the last attack. She had power, real power, and she was scared of it. They reached a narrow cave entrance, half covered in snow and dead vines. Jonas pressed a hidden button in the rock wall. The ground shook. A steel door opened with a heavy groan. In here, he said. This place was built during the last war. Sierra followed him into the dark tunnel. It smelled like dust and rusted. Metal deep underground, old lights flickered on one by one as they walked. Finally, they entered a large room, half lab, half control center. Computer screens lined the walls. Broken chairs and data pads lay scattered across the floor. This was a fallback station, Jonas explained. Built by human command when things got bad. Most people never knew it existed. Sierra looked around with wide eyes. Does it still work? Some of it, Jonas replied. And maybe that's enough. He sat her down and opened the scanner again. The silver shard she had shown him, the seed was still glowing inside a small box. He connected it to the system. The screen blinked. Foreign symbols filled the monitor. Then slowly, it shifted to English. Seed protocol, hybrid detected. Access granted. Humanity classified endangered. Seed mission preserve, adapt, restore. Jonas leaned in. Restore? Sierra stood behind him. Her voice was soft. They told me the seed was only meant to observe, to learn from advanced life. But it changed. It learned too much. Jonas looked at her. Learned what? That life doesn't want to be controlled. Sierra walked to the center of the room, where a glass panel showed a glowing map of nearby systems. "The seed has memories," she said, "millions of years old. It was made in another galaxy, sent across space inside living hosts. It bonded with my body before I was born. They didn't mean for that to happen." Jonas sat down slowly. "So you're not just a test subject. You're part of something ancient." "Yes," she nodded. "But I'm also something new, something they didn't expect. The Velari wanted to use the seed to rebuild life in their image, but the seed chose me." "Chose you for what?" Sierra turned to him. Her eyes glowed again, just a little. "To restart humanity." Jonas blinked. "What are you talking about?" She walked back to the console and touched the screen. A new image appeared. A giant ship deep underground buried beneath a long-dead planet not far from their location. "This is Arc 7, she said. "The last human seed ship. It was sent during the final battle, but it never launched. It's still there sleeping." "How do you know this?" "Because the seed knows. And now, so do I." Jonas stood up, pacing. "If what you're saying is true, then humanity's last hope is buried under that planet?" "Yes," Sierra replied. "But the Velari found it too. They couldn't open it. Only a human with the right biosignature can unlock it." Jonas turned sharply. "Me?" Sierra nodded. "You're not just a soldier, Jonas. Your DNA is old. Deep-line human. You were chosen just like me." Jonas looked down at his hands. For years he thought he was just surviving, forgotten, useless, broken. But now, he was a key. "We need to get there," he said. "How far is the planet?" 2 days by Skyskimmer," Sierra replied. "If we move fast?" Jonas nodded. He turned back to the console, downloading the coordinates, but just as he did, the lights flickered, then went out. Sierra froze. "They found us," she whispered. Jonas grabbed his rifle. Red lights appeared outside the tunnel. Drones. Fast ones. But this time, they didn't come to capture. They came to destroy. The first explosion shook the entire base. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Jonas grabbed Sierra and ran to the side corridor. "This way. There's a hidden launch pod." Sierra ran beside him, holding the seed box tightly. Behind them, red energy blasts tore through the steel walls. One of the drones flew in. Metal wings, glowing red eyes, a mouth filled with wires and teeth. Jonas turned and fired. Once, twice. The drone spun, then crashed into the wall. They reached the pod room, a small escape craft, old, barely functional. "Get in," Jonas shouted. Sierra jumped inside. Jonas followed, slamming the door behind them. "Can this thing fly?" she asked. "Maybe," Jonas muttered, typing in commands. Another explosion shook the room. The drone burst through the ceiling above them. Jonas hit launch. The pod shot upward. Metal screamed. Flames roared, and the tunnel behind them collapsed completely. They flew into the night sky, away from the mountain, away from the fire, but not away from danger. Inside the small cockpit, Jonas looked at Sierra. Her face was pale, but her eyes were calm. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered. I understand now." "Understand what?" She looked at him. "Why the seed chose me, and why it brought me to you." Jonas waited. "Because we're not just meant to survive," she said. "We're meant to begin again." Jonas turned toward the stars. In his heart, something began to change. Something he hadn't felt in a long, long time. Hope. Her secret could save humanity. The pod landed hard. Dust and ash burst into the air as metal scraped rock. Jonas leaned forward, gripping the controls, teeth clenched. Alarms were still beeping when the pod finally slid to a stop on the black surface of the dead world. Sierra sat next to him, silent, hugging the seed case tightly to her chest. Outside the cracked window was a dark, endless desert. The sky above was burnt orange, filled with slow-moving storm clouds. Lightning flashed in silence far above. Jonas checked the navigation. "We're here," he said. "Planet A-17. This is where the Ark is buried." Sierra nodded, but her face looked different. Not afraid, just distant, like she was listening to something he couldn't hear. Jonas stepped out of the pod. The ground crunched under his boots. Ash, not sand. No life anywhere. Stay close, he said. They walked together toward a sharp cliff. Jagged rocks jutted out like broken bones. As they reached the edge, Jonas pulled out a scanning device. He pointed it down. The screen lit up. Something massive, buried deep under the surface. Metallic, circular, ancient. Arc 7, he whispered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Jonas placed his hand on a flat stone slab. It glowed faintly beneath his touch. The scanner beeped again, recognizing his human signature. Then the ground shook. A hidden door opened in the rock. Stairs. After you, Jonas said. They stepped down slowly, leaving the dead surface behind. Beneath the planet's crust, everything changed. Walls of silver and black stone. Dim lights that turned on as they walked. The deeper they went, the warmer the air felt. Not natural heat, engine heat. Something alive below. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, and in the center of it, a ship. Dark, round, silent. Its hull covered in ancient symbols. Not just human, not just alien. A mix. A language lost to time. Arc 7. Jonas stared up at it, speechless. This ship was built with human minds and alien hands, Sierra said softly behind him. A final chance. A restart. But it was never launched. It needed a signal to awaken. She turned to Jonas. And you just gave it one. Jonas walked to the base of the ship. A platform rose from the ground, scanning his face, hands, and DNA. Lights flared. The Ark groaned, long dormant systems beginning to breathe again. A soft female voice echoed through the chamber. Human identity confirmed. Colonel Jonas Gray, Protocol Omega active, seed detected, preparing core activation. Jonas turned to Sierra. How does it know who I am? Sierra looked down. Because I told it. He stared at her. What? I didn't come here just to escape, she said. I came here to wake you up. Jonas's heart pounded. You knew about this place before the crash? She nodded. The seed isn't just in me. It's connected to this ship, to its memory, to its soul. Ships don't have souls, Jonas muttered. This one does, Sierra replied. It remembers you. It remembers the war, and it remembers why it was hidden. Jonas walked in silence as the ship's entrance opened. Inside, the air was heavy, charged with forgotten energy. They passed through long halls of glowing panels. Some showed human faces, digital ghosts of the past, engineers, scientists, soldiers. All now lost, but their codes still lived. In the center of the ship, a circular chamber opened. Hundreds of pods lined the walls, empty. Jonas frowned. I thought this was a sleeper arc. It was, Sierra answered, but it never launched. The Valari found it too soon. They wiped the sleepers but couldn't break the seed lock. They left it here. They thought it was dead. Jonas stepped closer to the main control panel. But it's not dead. Sierra walked to the middle of the room. She placed the seed case on the floor. This is what they wanted to hide, she said. Not just the seed, but what it can become. She opened the case. The silver shard inside floated into the air. Jonas raised his rifle slightly. Careful. But Sierra didn't move. The seed floated between them and then, without warning, split into 3 glowing threads. They spiraled around Sierra, scanning her, surrounding her with light. Then the voice returned. New seed phase initiated. Hybrid host stable. Permission to release alpha key. Jonas stepped back. What is this? Sierra's eyes were glowing gold now, but not like before. Brighter. Steady. Not just power. Purpose. You said I was made to carry it, she said. That was only partly true. I was made to become it. Jonas shook his head. What does that mean? Sierra's voice changed slightly. Still, hers, but layered with something older, deeper. The seed is not a weapon, she said. It's a message. A memory of everything humanity could have become. Jonas looked around the ark. Then why does everyone want to destroy it? Sierra looked at him with sad eyes. Because it can't be controlled. And it can't be owned. The Velari wanted to erase choice. But this seed brings it back. Suddenly the room went dark. A loud alarm echoed. Warning. External breach detected. Jonas ran to the screen. Outside the ark chamber, red drones had landed. Then he saw something worse. A tall black figure stepped into view. Not a drone, not a soldier, not a machine, a Velari emissary. Jonas had never seen one before, but he knew. Its body shimmered like oil in water, faceless, silent. It floated slightly above the ground, and it was coming. Jonas turned to Sierra. Can this ship fly? She smiled faintly. With you, yes, but only if we do it together. Jonas nodded. He placed his hand on the panel. She did the same. A bright wave of light shot through the ship. The engines roared to life. Outside, the Velari emissary paused, watching. Jonas looked up at the glowing walls, the humming energy, the rising heat. What now, he asked. Sierra turned to him. Now we bring humanity back. We found the last human ship. The ground trembled beneath their feet. The ark ship was awakening. Blue light ran through the floor like veins, flowing from the core to the walls. The air became heavier. Machines, silent for centuries, began to hum. Somewhere deep below, ancient engines coughed back to life. Jonas gripped the railing as the ship's systems came online. Beside him, Sierra stood calmly. Her golden eyes reflected the growing glow all around them. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. This wasn't just an escape vessel. It was alive. A ship built not just to carry humans, but to rebuild them. A ship designed to remember. Ship status? Jonas asked, voice sharp. A soft voice, female and calm, echoed from the ceiling. Arc 7 operational, core systems functional, crew manifest, missing, seed protocol active, flight systems locked, awaiting authorization. Sierra placed her hand on the control panel. The glowing threads of the seed still floated around her, almost like they were protecting her now. She looked at Jonas. We're not done. There's one last system that needs to be unlocked. Jonas frowned. What is it? She pointed at the main console. A black hexagon, sealed with ancient symbols and a red flickering light. The heart, she said. Jonas walked to it slowly. The scanner lit up as he approached, then beeped twice and stopped. Error. Biometric access denied. Primary code holder not found. He turned to Sierra. I thought I was the key. You are, she said, but not the only one. What do you mean? She stepped toward him and held out the seed shard, now floating calmly in her hands. It's time you learned the truth. The shard rose into the air between them. Then it pulsed. The chamber around them blurred. The walls dissolved into mist. The floor turned to stars. They were no longer in the ship. They stood in a memory, a living one. Before them, Earth. Blue, alive, spinning in silence. A voice began to speak, not Sierra's, not the ship's. Humanity reached for the stars, but fell into darkness. Betrayed, broken, forgotten. Yet one final chance remained. A father, a warrior, a man who said no when the galaxy said, give up. That man's code lives on. Jonas stepped back. I know this place. The vision shifted. He saw a younger version of himself, standing at a military table. Soldiers surrounded him. They argued, fought, pointed at a blinking red dot on a galactic map. They'll wipe us out, one man said. We launch the Ark now, said another. But who will protect the seed? He will. a woman replied, pointing at Jonas. He's the only one left who would die before he lets them win. The vision faded. Jonas fell to his knees, gasping. I was part of it, he whispered. I volunteered. They erased my memory to protect the Ark's location. Sierra nodded. The seed hid your mind, buried your past. Until I came. He stood, gripping the console. I remember now. He placed his hand once more on the black hex. This time, it glowed. Unlocked. The heart of the ship opened, revealing a pulsing golden sphere surrounded by crystal-like structures. Suddenly, everything went quiet. Too quiet. Sierra turned her head toward the hallway. They're here. Jonas snapped back to the moment. Red light filled the entrance as 3 Vailari drones floated inside, scanning the chamber with spinning red eyes. Jonas pulled his weapon. Get behind cover. But Sierra didn't move. She walked slowly to the center of the room, hands raised. Jonas hissed, "What are you doing?" "They're not after you," she said softly. "They want me. I need to stop this." Before more come, one of the drones fired too fast. The blast hit Sierra square in the chest. Jonas screamed, "No!" She fell back, but the seed erupted in a burst of golden energy. The light threw the drones into the walls like paper. Jonas ran to her side. She was still breathing. Barely. The seed floated above her, dim now, fading. She looked up at him. "I'm sorry. I didn't tell you everything." Jonas held her hand. "Don't talk. Save your energy." She smiled weakly. "You have to launch the Ark. You have to finish this." Jonas shook his head. "Not without you." Sierra raised her hand. A final spark of seed energy passed into the console. The voice returned. "Flight systems unlocked. Navigation set. Terra Hope Station. Launching in 90 seconds. Jonas turned to the control panel. He didn't know how to fly a seed core hybrid ship, but somehow he did. The knowledge was in him now. The seed had left a part of her, a part of them both, inside the controls. He activated thrusters. Lights across the chamber turned blue. Outside, more drones landed. Hundreds. Too many. Jonas gritted his teeth. "I hope this works." The ship began to rise. Metal walls retracted. The mountain above the Ark cracked open like a wound. Light spilled into the chamber as engines roared beneath them. More blasts fired at the hull. The Vailari emissary appeared again, floating above. The ruins. Jonas stared at the faceless being. He raised a middle finger. "You picked the wrong species." And with a final burst of power, Arc-7 launched into the sky. As the planet shrank below them, Jonas stood in silence. Sierra was unconscious, held in a stasis pod created by the seed. She looked peaceful, as if dreaming. The ship's voice spoke again. Arc-7 in motion. Destination, Terra Hope. Seed awakening. Stage 2. Jonas walked through the glowing corridors. Screens now displayed old human cities, DNA blueprints, star maps. It was all still here. Everything humanity had lost had not been lost. It had been waiting. Jonas placed his hand on the glass above Sierra's pod. "You saved me," he whispered. "Now I'll return the favor." Far ahead, deep in the stars, something flickered. A signal. Hope was calling. The final battle for her freedom space stretched endlessly before them. Arc-7 soared silently through the stars, its engines glowing like a distant sun. Behind it, the ruins of planet A-17 still burned, ashes of a world that tried to hide humanity's last hope. Jonas stood at the front of the bridge, eyes fixed on the screen. Ahead, Terra Hope Station, the last known human signal in the galaxy. A station thought destroyed decades ago, now flickering again. Alive. Behind him, Sierra slept in a crystal stasis pod. Her skin was pale, her breathing shallow. The seed had shielded her after the last battle, but she hadn't woken up since. He checked the console for the 100th time. Stasis stable. Seed synchronization, 83%. Full recovery. Uncertain. Come on, kid, Jonas muttered. You're tougher than this. But in his heart, he wasn't sure. He turned back to the main console. Ship, how far to Terra Hope? Arrival in 14 minutes. Warning. Multiple unidentified signals near destination. Vailari presence confirmed. Jonas's jaw clenched. He wasn't surprised. If Terra Hope was active, the Vailari would be watching it, maybe controlling it. But he had no choice. Sierra had told him the truth. The seed wasn't a weapon. It was a key, a memory of everything humanity had once been, and everything it could be again. And now that memory was inside her, and she was dying. Minutes later, ARC-7 dropped out of warp. The screen filled with light. Terra Hope Station came into view. Massive, cracked, floating just above a dead planet. The once glorious station now looked like a broken crown. Towers shattered, metal bent, systems barely holding, and surrounding it. Ships. Not human. Vailari, warships. Sleek, silent. Waiting. Jonas cursed. How many? 8. 1 capital vessel, 7 escorts. Energy signatures indicate full combat readiness. Jonas slammed a fist on the console. They were here for one reason. To end the seed. To make sure humanity's second chance never happened. He looked back at Sierra's pod. Not today. Prepare auto-defense, he said. Load weapons, charge shield. Weapons charged, shields up. Flight AI engaged. Engage stealth, Jonas ordered. Take us in slow. The ship dimmed its lights and dropped low, hiding behind broken debris as it drifted toward the station. Then, incoming signal detected. Source, Terra Hope. Human signature confirmed. Jonas's eyes widened. A human, down there? He opened the message feed. A static-filled voice spoke. ARC-7, this is Commander Elaine Yurev of Terra Hope Station. We've been waiting for you. Hurry, they're coming. His heart jumped. Elaine. She had vanished during the final war. She was one of the original ARC scientists, and his friend. Maybe more. But the signal ended fast. Signal jammed. Enemy. Ships moving. Jonas had no time. Set course. Manual override. I'm landing this thing myself. ARC-7 dove through wreckage and fire. Vailari ships began to move. Lasers blasted across space. Red beams cut past the hull, but Jonas flew low, fast. Dodging, weaving, burning through boosters as the ARC screamed toward the station. Come on, baby, he whispered to the ship. Hold together. A missile clipped the side. Explosions. Rocked the floor, but the ship didn't fall. It refused. It had purpose now. Jonas reached the docking ring. The moment the ship locked onto Terra Hope, he grabbed his rifle, slammed a backup battery into the power core, and rushed to Sierra's pod. He touched the glass. We're here. I'll come back for you. I promise. The station was in ruins. Hallways, flickered with sparks and smoke. Power conduits ran along the walls like veins. Old posters with human flags peeled away under flickering lights. Jonas moved fast, checking every corner. Then, movement. A door opened. Someone stepped out. A woman, gray suit, scar across her face. Same sharp eyes as he remembered. Elaine, he breathed. Jonas, she whispered, stunned. You're alive. They stared for a second, then embraced tightly, wordlessly. We thought the Ark was lost, she said. It almost was, Jonas replied. But she brought me back. Elaine blinked. Who? The girl. Sierra. She's not what we expected. She's what we needed. Elaine nodded. We have to move fast. The Vailari know you're here. I figured, Jonas said. What's left of the station? A few soldiers, some AI, and a secret chamber the Vailari never found. It's where we stored the final seed code before everything fell. Jonas stared at her. What kind of code? Elaine lowered her voice. Not just memory. Rebirth. The seed can restart human evolution. Better, smarter, immune to the manipulations of other species, but only if it bonds fully. With her? Jonas asked. Elaine nodded. And if they take her before that happens, they'll end us, Jonas finished. They reached the lower chamber. High security doors. Old defense systems. Inside, a glowing white terminal connected to a massive crystal drive. This is it, Elaine said. Everything humanity ever was. Stored right here. Jonas stepped toward it. And then, a gun clicked behind him. He froze, slowly turned. Elaine was aiming her rifle at his back. I'm sorry, Jonas, she said. His heart sank. What are you doing? Her voice cracked. They promised me peace. If I gave them the girl, they said they'd spare the last humans. Rage burned in Jonas's chest. You believed them? I believed we had no future, she said. Until now. Jonas took a slow step toward her. Don't do this. She trusted me. I trusted you. Tears filled her eyes. So did I. She pulled the trigger, but it never fired. A golden light hit her from behind and threw her across the room. Jonas turned. Sierra stood in the doorway, glowing, awake, eyes blazing with power. She had followed him. She had heard everything. You lied to him, she said softly to Elaine. You were never meant to protect the future. Jonas rushed to her side. You're okay. I'm better now, she said. I remember everything, and it's time. She walked to the terminal, raised her hands, and let the seed fully connect. Light filled the room. The walls glowed. The code flowed from the terminal into her, and from her into the ark. A voice echoed through every hallway. Seed complete. Humanity's core memory restored. Initiating evolution protocol. Outside, the ark began to shine. And the Vailari. They started to retreat, because something ancient had just awakened, and they feared it. They feared her. She gave me a reason to live again. The stars watched in silence. Above the broken remains of Terra Hope Station, Arc 7 hovered, now fully awakened. Its hull pulsed with golden veins, glowing like a heartbeat. No longer just a ship, no longer just a machine. It had become alive. Inside, Jonas stood alone at the bridge. He stared out, at the galaxy beyond, quiet, still holding his weapon. Though the battle had ended, the Vailari ships were gone, vanished, not defeated, but afraid. They had seen something they didn't expect. Hope, and worse for them, it had taken human form. Behind him, Sierra stepped into the light. But she wasn't the same girl anymore. She still looked like the child he had saved. But there was something more in her eyes now. Not just golden glow, but generations of memory, of understanding, of light. She spoke softly, and her voice echoed gently across the bridge. Jonas. He turned, surprised, even though he'd seen the signs of her transformation. Sierra? He said carefully. She nodded. It's still me, but it's also more than me now. He lowered his weapon. You don't have to explain. I saw it. I felt it. She smiled, a little sadly. The seed has finished merging. The code you helped unlock, it rebuilt my body. But it also opened my mind. I remember everything. Every life the Vailari tried to erase. Every face. Every voice. She paused. Every human who never got to live their story. Jonas stepped closer. And now you can give them that chance? She nodded. Yes, but only if I make a choice. He frowned. What kind of choice? I can stay like this. Part human, part seed. I can lead this ship and begin the human rebirth process. I can spread the code to lost colonies, restore memory, rebuild the species. Jonas looked at her. But if I do, I won't be Sierra anymore. Not really. His chest tightened. What's the other choice? I shut it all down. I let the seed rest. I stay here, just a girl, just one life, but no second humanity. Jonas stared at her for a long time. His hands clenched slowly. So you either save the world and lose yourself, or stay yourself and let the world stay broken? Sierra nodded. That's the cost. He walked to the large viewing screen, looked out at the stars and whispered, "Then we've come full circle. We've spent lifetimes creating weapons that look like people. Now we've created a person who could become a weapon, or a miracle." He turned to her. "You don't have to. Choose what they built you for. Choose what you want." Sierra was silent. Then she said, "What do you want?" Jonas took a deep breath. "I want you to live." She looked down. "So do I. But the galaxy needs more than just one life." Jonas walked forward and placed his hand on her shoulder. His voice was softer now, weaker, slower. "I didn't survive all these years just to see you burn yourself out. I survived because I didn't have a reason to die." He looked her in the eyes. "But you gave me one." Sierra's eyes shimmered, not just light, tears. "I'm scared," she whispered. Jonas smiled. "Good. That means you're still human." Suddenly, the ship trembled. The AI voice returned, sharp, focused. "Emergency signal detected. Planet Eidos 9. Human survivors under siege. Broadcasting distress code. Humanity still lives." Jonas turned. "What?" The screen changed, showing a small broken planet. A hidden colony. Dozens, maybe hundreds, of real human survivors, holding out against a last Violari. Purge squad. Sierra's eyes widened. They weren't all gone. The seed pulsed inside her. Jonas looked at her, voice tight with urgency. "We have to go. You can reach them. You can finish what we started." Sierra paused, then walked to the command core. She pressed both hands on the crystal interface. The seed inside her spread outward, flowing into the Ark's systems like blood into a heart. Her voice changed, deeper now, calmer. "Ship AI core, rewriting. Human seed hybrid confirmed. Beginning multi-colony genetic sync protocol. Arc 7. Now designated Cradle of Humanity." Jonas stepped back. The bridge began to glow. "Are you sure?" he asked. Sierra looked at him one last time. "I'm sure." The light surrounded her, and in the moment before she vanished into the ship's core, she whispered, "You gave me a reason to become more." Time passed. The Ark jumped through hyperspace, faster than any human ship had ever moved before. Inside, Jonas sat alone in a chamber of stars. He watched as screens lit up with new messages. Humans calling out from hiding, from exile, from ruined colonies. The seed had awakened their code, their history, through frequencies across the stars. He heard voices from planets long, thought dead, children who spoke ancient Earth languages, memories being returned to those who thought they never had a past. And above it all, Sierra's voice guided them. She was no longer just a girl. She was something more. She was the bridge between what was lost and what could be found again. Years later, on a new Earth, green and growing again, children ran across grass-covered hills beneath a warm sky. Above them, a shining ship floated like a silent guardian, Cradle of Humanity. Inside, in a quiet garden within the ship's living chamber, an old man sat beside a tree. He looked up at the stars, smiling. A young girl walked up to him, her eyes golden. "Grandpa," she said, "will you tell me the story again?" Jonas smiled. "The one about the question?" She nodded. He leaned back, eyes distant. "Well," he said softly, "it started with a girl who wasn't supposed to exist, and a question no one was ready to answer." She smiled. "What was it?" Jonas looked at her and whispered. She asked, "Will you be my father?" And I said yes.